My dad passed out during my birth and had to get admitted himself. When my mom was giving birth, my dad held her hand and asked, "Are you okay?" Trying to help, she grabbed his hair and said, "Do you think I'm okay?" My husband asked, "So, are you ready to have another one?" Right as I was pushing, the nurse glared at him and said, "Sir, this is not the appropriate time." Ronnie almost passing out and making one out of my two nurses get him a Sprite while I'm mid-labor. I was in the bathroom changing my clothes and my partner let out an awful fart. Right as the doctor walked in, he said, "She's in the bathroom. She might be a while." My husband was wearing scrubs for my C-section, and they were one size fits all. Well, he's a bit on the stocky side, so as soon as he came in the room and went to sit next to me, his pants ripped open. My man fainted when I got the epidural, so the nurse ran to the cafeteria to get him something to eat. Justice chips for a day and a half for me, though. My mom had a dad pass out at one of the births she was at, and the mom screamed, "Get up, UP, you're embarrassing me." I was in my 4th hour of pushing when my husband shouted, "Good form." The nurse turned to him and said, "She's not bowling. He loves to tell people how he's so funny. He got me to laugh during a contraction." I had to lie down with a cool towel on my forehead after my son was born. Realized the nurse was telling not offering when she said she had crackers for me a second time. Wayne almost passed out. The nurse had to manhandle him into a chair and push him into the corner. Meanwhile, I'm bleeding out and he's asking for an epidural for his damn self. The doctor put my newborn baby daughter on my chest to meet me, and my significant other suddenly screamed, "Don't touch it," causing the nurses to stare at him in horror. When I asked why he did that, he said, "She just looked so gross, I didn't know what else to say." Being a dad isn't just about eating a huge bag of gummy bears as your wife gives birth. It means being comfortable with the word hero. My husband is over here like, "Pregnancy is magical. Let's have 3 more. Okay, you were chowing on chips while I was in labor screaming. Bye, Jake." During labor with my oldest child, my husband was holding one of my feet. Well, since I was numb from the epidural, I couldn't feel him accidentally twisting my foot. Turns out, he twisted it so much he gave me a sprained ankle. For my next delivery, he wasn't allowed to hold my feet at all. My husband had spent all day on a slip and slide with our toddler, and I went into labor the next day. Well, at the hospital I noticed him wincing every time he moved, so I finally asked him what was wrong, and he said that his abs were killing him from the slip and slide. I was in labor with no meds. My patient's boyfriend passed out while she was giving birth yesterday, and when he got up, my good sis said, "You just had to make it about you." I screamed. After our baby was born, my husband took pictures of her in the incubator while the nurses did her checkup. Sweet concept, except he took all the pictures facing the delivery bed, so every single one of those precious first pictures of our daughter has me in the background, naked and delivering the placenta. My son's father was asleep in the hospital room with me when my water broke around 2 a.m., and I was literally yelling at him to wake up to call the nurse. Homeboy didn't even wake up until about 15 minutes later after the nurse charted, cleaned the water, and was already leaving LOL. I was already at the hospital when my water broke, so I asked my husband to press the call button on the bed to let the nurses know. Well, instead, he accidentally pressed the code button on the wall, and all of a sudden about 10 doctors and nurses came scrambling into the room. I just looked at them embarrassed and said, "My water broke." I didn't pass out. I just cried so much and couldn't stop. I cried more than my son when he came out, and he was looking like, "Big dog, you good?" My sister was having her first baby, and the midwife showed her husband how to squeeze out a cloth and cool her face. When she had her back turned, he threw the soaking cloth right over her face. My sis started screaming, "Get that useless F out, he's waterboarding me." I legit had a vasovagal reaction when my wife's water broke, and my wife and the nurses were paying more attention to me than my wife because they were afraid I'd faint. I felt so guilty about it, LOL. My husband was eating a sandwich when my doctor came in to break my water. He didn't even stop chewing, just leaned over to watch and then took another bite. Doctor was like, "You're not grossed out." He goes, "Am I supposed to be?" That's my wife. My late mama told me that when she was getting her epidural, my dad blacked out, fell on the floor 'cause of the needle. All the nurses started laughing at the fact he couldn't handle the needle while picking him up. He doesn't remember it. This isn't my story. When my mom was telling me the story, my mom made my dad get her Taco Bell before they went to the hospital, so she's in labor. And she wanted to get her Taco Bell while she's pushing. And she asked him to hold her taco. And after I'm out, she's like, "Where's my taco?" And my dad swears up and down he does not remember eating the taco. And I know his lying face, he honestly does not remember eating her Taco Bell. But he scarfed that sat down. This reminds me of my in-law. When my sis was in labor, he was asked to go get some stuff at home. He went and he came back with nothing. My mom was like, "Where are the stuff?" He said, "Mama, what do you say I should get again?" He went back and came back with different stuff entirely. Some of my favorite photos are of dads passing out during labor. It always kills me.